President, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Maros, for the excellent cooperation we have amongst ourselves. A few words in conclusion on the subject of this very complex negotiating file, an extraordinary file, Brexit. First, very sincere thanks to the Parliament, Madam President, the 17 committees who've been committed, their rapporteur. As David McAllister said, it's the first time, and I really do think it is the right time, so I'd like to express my warm thanks to Kati Piri and Christophe Hansen for the very complicated work of summary that they've done. Congratulations. We need vigilance. We need determination in the European Parliament in this period, and it's that determination that your President, David Sassoli, expressed on Monday with the high-level conference organised with the President of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, Charles Michel, President of the European Council, you yourselves, and Boris Johnson. And then, I think it was Nathalie Loiseau said, you will have the last word again when we hope, I hope, have reached an agreement with the UK. As Mr. Šefčovič said, we have noted the negative position expressed by the British government when it comes to extending, as we, I think, all have the option of doing until the 30th of June, the transition period, as a prelude to negotiations. And we have 4 months of negotiations behind us, 4 months of negotiations before us. Kati Piri said 204 days earlier. It's going to be difficult, therefore. It's possible. The time's very short. And I share the feeling of urgency expressed by Boris Johnson, and that's why we have in fact decided, together with my counterpart David Frost and his negotiating team, which like ours is very professional, to step up in July and August, as well as in September, the negotiations, to have more concentrated, more targeted discussions with the goal and obligation for us, because, you know, these are my rules, to have the same transparency with your Parliament, with your coordination group, with your committees, and the 27 member states with whom we negotiate. What are the next stages? One thing is clear, as was recalled by the 3 presidents of the 3 institutions when they met Mr. Johnson on Monday, what counts for us, before even the process, is that we have progress on the substance. It's up to the UK to choose what it wants, or whether it wants an agreement. Madam Minister, you said it very rightly at the start of this part session. It's the choice of the UK, whether or not they want an agreement, because the conditions for an agreement are already known. They were agreed upon with Boris Johnson. Every word, every comma was negotiated in the political declaration, committing us towards a sustainable agreement which your Parliament is very attached to, not just an unprecedented trade agreement with 0 quotas and 0 tariffs and all goods, which is a first in the history of the Union, but with an agreement on fisheries, as Mr. Bellamy recalled, an agreement on a level playing field, on state aids, fiscal issues, social rights and environmental rights. An agreement, Christophe Hansen just said, ensuring economic fair play and social fair play, and that agreement should cover energy, transport, security and defence issues. And on the basis of what was already said, we hope that conditions of access to the market would be fair. The political declaration, those principles are ones that we took on board in our mandate and in our draft agreement that was published on the 18th of March, and that is not open to negotiation. After 4 years of negotiations, we see quite clearly, ladies and gentlemen, honourable members, what the strategy is of the UK government. Firstly, it refused any discussion on important subjects, defence, security and development. And I interpreted that as the idea of concentrating all the negotiations just into economic issues and the defence of those economic interests. And then afterwards, in that strategy of the UK, they tried to negotiate to a certain extent a status which would be very similar to the status of single market membership of Schengen and the customs area without having any of the constraints or disciplines. So that's cherry picking on rules of origin, mutual recognition, financial services, qualifications, data flows and electricity services. We are not going to accept cherry picking. The second part of the British strategy is to refuse any clear and strong commitments in the field of a level playing field, so as to keep the freedom to move away from the rules of the Union. And some say that's the very point of Brexit, different rules for trade. And in their strategy, when you look at data, I know what the very strong position of the Parliament is, but we see that on state aid, on financial services. State aid, the UK until now has given us no idea of a future regulation of state aids. And food security standards, food standards. Here, the UK has even wanted to reopen the whole question of geographical indications, which are clearly protected in the withdrawal agreement that Michel mentioned. None of that is compatible with the basis of a sustainable, ambitious agreement with a major country which is likely to remain our friend, our ally and partner. But I remain convinced, ladies and gentlemen, honourable members, that an agreement is possible for the long term. As we've heard, we have wanted that from the beginning, and we've wanted to allow the negotiations to succeed by stepping them up. But ladies and gentlemen, you set the direction in your resolution. We won't be striking an agreement at any price. Bernd Lange just said this. We won't be sacrificing. As President von der Leyen said, we will never sacrifice the economic and political long-term interests of European consumers and institutions to the profit of the UK. Instead, we want to see tangible progress on the withdrawal agreement with the guarantee of citizens' rights and peace in Ireland through the proper application of the protocol. And finally, our priority is and will remain to be to reach an agreement, but we also have a responsibility, Mr. Arimont, as we've heard from you and others, to prepare collectively for all possible scenarios at the end of the year, whether there is an agreement or there isn't. We have to prepare one way or another, and we will do so. Thank you for the confidence you've expressed in me and my negotiating team, the negotiating team of the Commission, which is your negotiating team. Don't let's forget that. The next weeks will be decisive, and we're going to have to show certain qualities. Ms. Karima has asked that, in fact, we continue, that we remain calm, and that was called for by other members too. Calm and patience. Calm and patience. I have reserves which can't be run out of those two principles, and we also have to defend our consumers and enterprises. We're determined to do that and will do so, and Parliament has given us a new proof today of the direction we should be moving in and the support they have. Thank you.
And I hope your reserves do not run out, Michel Barnier. So good luck with the negotiations, and I give the floor on behalf of the Council to State Secretary Barnier. Thank you.